how did you come to work at Marvel?
By subway. I was actually working for in the wholesale department at Playboy Paperbacks, as a matter of fact. Which, despite the name, actually was a fairly high quality publisher. We published people like Morgan Llewellyn and Tyler, really good run of literary books. So good that when Playboy was going belly up, Berkeley Books bought the entire backlist and pretty much the entire publishing arm.
My wife became the editor.
Yep. And, they pretty much were firing everybody except one guy, and the guy was not me. And I was and we knew that Playboy was winding down, so I was picking up freelance work, and I got a freelance job at Comic Scene. They wanted an article about the direct sales market, which was then first starting up. So I was interviewing various people in the industry, Paul Levitz, different people about the development of the direct market. And one of the people that I interviewed was the then assistant direct sales manager at Marvel Comics, Carol Kalish. And I went in for what was supposed to be a half-hour interview, and we wound up really hitting it off, and we talked for 2.5 hours until both of our throats were raw. Thank you, sir. And at the end of it, as I was, packing up my interview stuff, Carol asked me what I was doing. She said, she asked me what I do for a living, and I said, well, I work in the wholesale department at Playboy, although that's going belly up, so I'm going to be jobless soon. And her eyes kind of lit up, and she said, tell me more about other stuff that you've done. And she wound up interviewing me, and I became her assistant because she was being promoted to direct sales manager. And that's where I started working at Marvel. And I worked in the sales department for 5 years. And during that time, I became friendly with various editors and such. And about 3 to 4 years in, I started pitching ideas for comic stories to editors. Wound up writing Spider-Man for a little while. Was fired off of Spider-Man because Jim Owsley was trying to save his job. Because he pissed off Jim Shooter because he'd hired me to write Spider-Man. And then I wound up picking up the Incredible Hulk, which nobody had trouble with. There was a lot of trouble in editorial with me writing Spider-Man, because the feeling was you don't take a guy who's never written a comic book and give him Marvel's flagship character. Nobody gave a crap about my writing the Incredible Hulk, because nobody else wanted to write the Incredible Hulk. So, yeah, much like X-Men. And eventually I wound up becoming a full-time writer, and it's worked out pretty well so far. Yay, he remembers some history, yay! When you're 51, that's not a given. Hi!
Hi.
Okay.
Well, first you're writing novels around when you started writing comics. I was a little curious about that.
I started writing novels several years. Basically what happened was, when Playboy went belly up, I also became friends with the science fiction editor at the time, a woman named Sharon Jarvis, who, when Playboy went under, decided to become a full-time agent. And she wound up agenting work for me, and she sold my first novel, Nightlife, which was about King Arthur returning to modern day and becoming mayor of New York. And I remember having up a cover proof for Nightlife in my office, and I remember Al Milgram coming into my office and going, oh look, another writer named Peter David. Although there actually now is another writer named Peter David. There's a guy named Peter David who wrote a book called Triumph in the Gulf about Operation Desert Storm. And people kept coming up to me with this book at conventions asking me to sign it. And even though the author's picture is different, even though it says that he is an editor for The Economist, and that he's 10 years older than me, they kept asking me to sign it. And one day, just for laughs, I called his office at The Economist. And I said, and this very British woman answers the phone, and she says, yes, Peter David's office. And I said, yes, may I speak to Peter David? And she says, who may I say is calling? I said, Peter David. To her credit, she said, hold on, please. A few moments pass, this guy comes over and says, hello, this is Peter David. And I said, yes, hi, My name is also Peter David, and I thought it might amuse you to know that I'm a writer, and people keep coming up to me and asking me to sign your book, Trying for the Golf. And he says, would you be the reason why people keep asking me to sign Star Trek novels? Yeah, well, no, but it was kind of a one-time thing.